Oh, boy, is it cold.
From Erie's own Government Access, Channel 9, from the City Hall Council Chambers, it's time once again for the Taxpayers Hotline Show. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host.
Go ahead.
Your host, Kaz Kwiatkowski.
And my good friend,
John Steiner. Hello, everybody. How are you today?
You're like the, what do we got to call you?
You're the co-host.
The 8th Councilman?
No, I'm the co-host.
The co-host. That's good. That's a good term.
Yeah. That's all you need to have is 8 councilmen. Then every vote would tie 4-4. There'd be total bedlam and chaos, anarchy.
I'll explain to you how the Polish do it.
Oh,
It works out good, though.
This is going to be interesting. How do the Polish do it?
No, I have to tell you privately.
Oh, it's a private Polish.
It works, though.
Hey, as long as it works.
When we were over there, they said they don't have any gridlock or anything.
No gridlock in Poland?
Even Jim Thompson, when he was over there with us,
yeah.
he'd laughing.
Yeah. Where were we supposed to be? Are we sister cities with somebody over there? Or were we?
Yeah, we're sister cities with, I think it's Meridian or Yucatan, Mexico.
Oh, really?
I think Yucatan's a region.
Do we invite them over for Christmas or anything?
We have. I mean,
Go ahead, caller.
Good afternoon.
Hey, look who's here. Uncle John.
Uncle John. Hey, I got a couple things on my mind.
Just a couple?
Well, I could go on for the whole show, but you wouldn't want to listen to me for the whole show.
Well, actually, we want to get you on here someday.
Well, when I get all well and better, I'll be there.
Maybe what we should do is get you via satellite, like they do in...
Like my Facebook, like my face,
We'll put that stuff over, like those pixelations.
Yeah.
my iPhone.
We'll put pixelations on you, and you'll talk like this. You go.
We'll put the voice analyzer on it.
I only did that when I was in Chicago in Cicero.
You messed around with the wrong guys there, huh?
The Goombas.
Yeah, the first thing on my mind is, Kaz, you were on the school board.
Yeah, a long time ago, but go ahead.
But we're going to have a serious accident down on 38th and Page, Hoyt, Dexter, in that area. For these people dropping their kids off, they're in the north lane going east, and they're spinning around that turn at Joan O'Connell School.
Yeah, on Page?
Well, Page, Hoyt, Stanton, that whole area.
Where are they parked? On Page Street or on 38th?
They're driving.
You mean by the school?
Well, what they're doing...
They're driving in the north lane going east.
What they're doing is they're coming to pick up their kids.
Around to go down the driveway on the east side of Joanne O'Connell School.
Well, if they're in the north lane, they're heading west, aren't they?
No, they're in the north lane. It's a 4-laner.
Then if they're in the north lane, then they'd be heading
The north
east.
lane, they're turning...
Oh, west. You're right, yeah.
They're heading west, John.
No, they're heading east.
How could that happen?
Well, I'm sorry. I got my compass wrong. They're going west.
Yeah, they're heading towards the grocery store, right?
Yeah.
And... No.
Yeah.
Now you got me all confused. The north lane going east.
That would be the south
Like
lane.
if you're going to Harbor Creek.
That's the south lane.
That's the south.
It's the north lane. The south lane, you would be all right to go right on through by the crossing. You wouldn't be turning into the school.
Wait, I think we're getting...
Yeah, anyways. But
go ahead. I think I know what you're saying. Go ahead.
Well, the south lane is going east.
That's heading to Harbor Creek.
Movable. The north lane,
right.
east, is where they cut across in front of the traffic.
Correct.
Right.
And there's going to be a serious accident there. Someone's going to get killed.
What are they doing, actually?
Well, what they're doing is parents, and they do, I'll tell you another story, but he's right, because I've noticed that like 2 weeks ago. They're you come to pick the kids up, but the parents are parking, there's so many because nobody walks home, everybody's picked up.
Right.
They're starting to park out onto the street.
Not in that parking lot.
There's so many cars, they're lined up down through and then out onto 38th Street.
So they're parking on the north side of 38th Street.
Yeah, they're parking on there, and then traffic starts getting backed up, and then you get cars turning, and it's a real mess over there.
You got to go to, the other day I went to 30th and Cascade by Perry.
Yeah.
I watched 2 clip cars that are parked.
Yeah. Well, my son goes to Collegiate Academy.
Well, what's happening? Like,
Well, at Collegiate Academy, this is on State Street. I couldn't believe they double park right in front of the school.
Yeah.
And then there was a school bus that came and sat and blocked State Street for like 20 minutes. Cars were pulling over the boulevard to turn to get away from it. I couldn't believe I can't believe how people park in a school zone like that. And the same thing goes with St. Luke's. John, you're probably familiar with that situation up there.
That's terrible there, too.
Yeah, I mean, the way that the parents park.
ooh, is everybody taking cars now?
Nobody walks, Kaz. And I mean, back in the day, we used to walk to school. And
I remember when my kids went to Lincoln. You know where Lincoln is, right, John?
Oh.
We were told not to park along the boulevard. There's a boulevard there.
yeah,
And, that was made clear.
right.
It's too bad you got there late, but,
Right. That's the way that it is at most schools. I mean, I was stunned that they had State Street.
When I was on the school board, John, what they did was you remember Glenwood?
Yeah.
Well, Glenwood was a problem, and so was Grover Cleveland. But I think at those two schools, I'm not positive about Grover Cleveland, but at Glenwood, they actually, we expended some funds along with PennDOT. They cut into the curb to make a drop-off zone, but you still couldn't park on the street, but you had a drop-off zone.
Well, the mayor, or his new number, 870-1111,
Yeah.
better take a look at this before there's a serious accident. Somebody's going to get killed up there.
I better bring it up to the chief and the traffic engineer, and maybe, they're going to have to meet with the school district and come up with.
I mean, there are pickup zones, but there are so many kids getting
The
picked
parents
up.
are ignorant driving those kids. They
Yeah.
think they have the right of way.
Well, even the Connell, I remember that the side parking lot, that's where the buses used to go.
Right.
And, they went in there. Now you got people parking along the road that leads into Tops.
Yeah.
That's a mess.
Right.
And, I don't know what the answer is. They're going to either have to stagger or.
Patrolmen up there starting to cite these people.
Pardon?
We have to get patrolmen up there, motorcycle, cars, or whatever, and citing them for illegal parking, illegal turning.
I mean, technically, isn't that like a bicycle lane too now? Aren't they have the bike the bikes are allowed to ride on? I mean, what are they going to do? I mean,
I'll tell you what they did in Allentown. I had to pick up my grandkids, and I thought this was a great idea. They drove you around, and they had you park somewhere. But if you couldn't park, then you had to just drive around, and there was a drop-off zone. Mm-hmm. And your kid would be waiting there for you.
Right.
And, of course, the teachers knew, who it was, but there was much more order to it than what we got. We got a real mess. Yeah,
even St. Luke's I stay away from 38th. You have Jefferson, St. Luke's, and Joanna Connell. Boom, boom, boom.
If you get in that one lane where they're dropping them off at St. Luke's, you got a problem.
You got a big problem.
There, and these people, these parents, they're supposed to be parents. I think half of them are little kids. They don't have the respect for the other traffic and whatever.
I think what they're going to have to do, and it's going to be painful, one solution could be that, they're going to have to put their flashers on, stay in the north lane, no pickups out in the street, and start tagging people that do that. And you just have to wait your turn and drive into the school parking lot and out in a controlled manner. I mean, it's just going to.
Right. That's too bad. He had a good idea, staggering dismissal times, but.
Yeah, they will, but then you're going to get, I can tell you what the problem's going to be.
Now, one other thing, and I'll get off the line here. You ready for this?
Hey, John, I'm gonna bring that up to the chief, though, but.
All right, you do that.
Because I tell you, it's not only that school. You got to go by 30th and Cascade and try to get.
all the schools.
Imagine.
You can't get down the street, though.
The head of the traffic, or not the traffic division, for way back when he was given the citations for the school crossing and everything else. They had a good system then. Of course, there weren't that many parents with cars now and dropping their kids off for early breakfast. And of course, this isn't early. This is about between 9 and 9:30.
Yeah.
That's when it's a holy mess. But let's get back to the more serious thing here.
Okay.
But that is serious, but what I saw Wednesday at the city council meeting was a fiasco.
Which way, John?
You got three amigos now wearing hats, and they don't know, I'm going to have to say this, shit from Shinola. I mean, those three women, and even your solicitor, a woman, who comes to a city council meeting without a rules of Roberts book, that is kind of a disgrace. She's a solicitor. She should have that. She should be on top of that.
Yeah, it wasn't one of our finer moments.
Finer moments.
No, I mean, I knew when I saw the agenda there was going to be problems because the way the order was, and I understood what Councilman Mirsky was trying to do, but it sure got confusing because
Yeah.
Because what we basically were saying was, which comes first, I guess you say, the chicken or the egg?
The egg.
So,
They were all in Mexico.
I mean, the meeting was going to be, what do you call it? If we're going to tear down the bridge, the meeting would have been meaningless.
Sure.
And I think that's what he was trying to say. Why are we voting on the meeting first?
They shouldn't have.
But that's the order that they put on the agenda.
They couldn't even understand that one vote was to reimburse the city for the expense they incurred.
Yeah, that was hard to understand, and I could see that's why at least I pointed out that the one they were voting on was the actual demolition, not the reimbursement.
Yeah, I read the agenda. Mrs. Roby put it on finally, and she has her hands full there also.
Right, and I did think when I looked at it, I was pretty sure that the first, I couldn't remember the exact order, but I remember reading it before, and I said, no, I think the first one is the demolition.
Yeah.
And the second one's what they call the reimbursement for.
Reimbursement.
And the third one is where they're going to add the extension wall to the old highway. I mean,
they couldn't even understand the extension wall, what that was to prevent.
John and I went over that. You know that we talked after this last thing with a couple of people, and we explained to them what they were going to do. They were going to extend the wall either by concrete or by fencing, because it came up during a meeting that they felt, this was that group, they felt that the walkway along the new highway, the East Side Connector, they felt that was unsafe. I mean, the old McBride was really unsafe. So PennDOT says, you know what? They looked at it and they said, we'll try to calm their fears. We'll extend that inside wall, the one closer to the cars. I don't know. I'm not positive they're going to put more concrete, but definitely it's going to be higher.
They're going to elevate it so they can't jump it, and they're going to have a passageway where they could get through it without having all the so-called fumes and the speeders. Or whatever.
That was brought up about the fumes, but.
Oh my God! They had to go down on 38th and Liberty by my daughter's house, or even up here, I can smell the fumes.
Hey, John, once we started switching over to cars way back in the horse and buggy day,
yeah,
the fumes are coming.
Yeah, and the fumes were coming from the horse and buggy days too.
I mean,
that's called methane.
Yeah, but I laugh. I mean, this is, look, we like to think Erie's a quaint little city, but in the scheme of things, it's a major city.
I don't know.
It's 90-some thousand people.
I know that you guys aren't on social media too much. I know you aren't, Cass.
Yeah.
I know John is, but there are people out there just crushing you guys about the vote, calling you guys, the old school boys or the good old boy network.
They are.
Oh yeah, they're
on what site?
Facebook, and it's the same.
They wanted to keep the bridge.
The McBride Viaduct
they
people.
call that vote, don't you?
What's that?
They called it a gender vote. I mean, how ignorant are these people?
Yeah.
I mean, there's people up there trying to do good for the city, and you got people who are just trying to think of one thing, not the city as a whole.
Right.
I'd like to know who wrote those songs. I mean, is it coming from?
I can tell you who's.
Does it come from the one group?
It's
the one group.
You can take a guess. You take a guess.
I mean, I go around town and everybody was.
An architect, and he's supposed to know it all.
But everybody I talk to around town is relieved now.
Actually, Adam Trott, I know Adam a little bit. He's a really smart guy. I mean, he's He's a good guy. His heart is in the right place. But some of the other people that are involved in that, to me, I just think they're looking for free publicity. And
I think they pulled a bunch out of the banana tree and said, "Go talk."
whether whether you want the bridge or whether it's the good fixing it is right. Some people are in it to just get their name in the news and to be on the
And they
newspaper.
want to hear themselves talk, and
Yeah.
they want to cause trouble.
I mean, whether the bridge should be replaced, shouldn't replaced, these people are in it just to get media attention so they can try to advance their political positions in the future.
One more quick thing.
Yeah.
On the recapping of tires, you ought to get together with the chief. These are for the fire trucks.
Yeah.
He used to get recaps at Penelec. We got them by the ton. Unless you send the same tires where you're going to get the same measurements when you bring them back, it's cheaper in the long run. Buy brand new. And I don't want my firemen out there on recaps that have a possibility of peeling off, blowing out, or whatever.
Yeah, because we get a pretty good deal with the COG. They get good contracts.
On new tires or recaps?
Probably I'm guessing new tires.
Also, because recaps, like I said, unless you send your recaps and you have them matched and get them back and measure them, they can be off an inch or 2 inches.
I don't know why. I was surprised. I never knew we did recaps.
It was in the agenda. They were.
Oh yeah, I saw it, but I'm not liaison to that, so I've never.
They used to do some of our recapping.
It would have been a surprise to me to do it on that, but
Do you guys?
Would not myself. Remember, I told you you'd run into a problem with Napa with the auto parts.
right.
You ran into a big problem. You're going to run into the same problem with the recapping. Not that I condemn the man, but unless you have your caps and they're the same size, you're going to get variations. And we had, I don't know, 200, 300 trucks, and we went to all brand new tires. We even got written up because we were buying Yokohamas, and they were a good tire way back when they first came out. But other than that, let's go Tribe.
Thanks for calling, John. Do you guys, the COG, Council of Governments, do you guys joint purchase salt with all the other governments? And
Actually, we have our own contract, and a lot of times they piggyback with the state stuff and everything. But we one of the big advantages. In fact, we got a contract coming up shortly with salt, and
I know Mill Creek.
Mill Creek's part of our COG.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Do you guys all? I mean,
we get together. We buy it. We buy it.
Well, you know who's the director of the COG, right? Jessica Horan.
Yeah.
Now,
in fact, I'm liaison. I was just.
Oh, you're the liaison.
Yeah,
to
we
the
just
COG?
had a meeting. In fact, Carl's on there.
I was just going to say it was Carl. Yeah, Carl.
And we brought up at the last meeting that right now members get a better deal than non-members.
Well, they should.
Yeah, well, it wasn't always that way, but it's actually advantageous because you're free to do what you want on your own. Like the city doesn't have to go with COG, but COG provides like salt, oil, fuel.
The joint purchasing is where it's at.
Well, yeah, the fuel.
I think that's a really good idea, and that's the kind of
last-
networking that needs to go on.
Well, sure. The last fuel contracts I remember I okayed when I was controller were based on they got this formula where you pay so much above the wholesale price or whatever it is.
Right. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
I heard John talking about them schools in that Jefferson is a mess too.
Yeah, it is. I
was going down and they park on both sides of the street. City bus tried getting through there. She could hardly get through there.
I'm surprised nobody gets hurt yet.
Yeah, someone's gonna, especially when the weather's bad. And as far as that St. Luke's, I think when they first started that stuff, they let you park in Mercyhurst, but someone mouthed it off to somebody, and they told them to stay out of that lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
now, there's a problem with, there's so much snow in that parking lot, too, that...
Yeah, you're right. That does not help.
And see, a lot of the schools, they don't have, like if you go to Grover Cleveland, they got a bigger parking area. And, but I've watched my nephews my grandkids rather, out of town, and other communities handle a lot better. They have a system where you have to stay in a certain area, drive around. You can't just do what you want to do.
St. Luke's is terrible because I go down the other way and they're lined up for 3 blocks trying to get in that.
Yeah, it's very bad.
That light is screwed up too. When you come out of the church parking lot, sometimes it's red as you're going east and it's red going out. I mean, it's really.
You're absolutely. I travel that way a lot, and you're absolutely right. I sit there and I'm like, why am I sitting? I get so angry because for one thing, even when there's no cars, and then it doesn't switch right, and then you're there forever, and it's a parking lot.
Then on the it says no turn on right, no right turn.
Yeah.
It's really screwed up. I mean.
It's really bad there in the afternoon.
About that.
I mean, that whole 38th Street corridor. I tried.
There's going to be some changes with the Vets Hospital. That's coming.
Oh boy.
Yeah, they're working on a plan now. How they're going to change their entrance.
Okay. Well, then to what? Old French or?
No, they're going to put it
38th.
Well, if you go there now, they've moved it further east. The entrance.
Oh, did they? You
can see they're cutting.
Okay.
They're not going to put them closer to State Street like they were.
Okay.
But you're right. Some of these schools, I drive around town and I've been going to different schools. Yeah. Somebody's going to have to talk to the school district about some kind of law and order.
Right.
You still there, sir? He must have.
He's
got a good point because it's getting bad.
It's dangerous.
Somebody's going to get hurt.
I'll tell you, I was on State Street. I was parking. I was facing south on State Street, just above. I think it's 28th or 29th. I swear to God, 20 minutes on State Street. The traffic was blocked. People were losing their minds driving over the boulevard. Then the traffic was
driving over it.
Yeah, they were like stuck in traffic. And the boulevard's right here. They were going, whoop. I mean, cars. I mean, and they didn't, people, I could see the look on their.
We're going to have one hung up in there.
People were livid. I mean, honestly, I was thinking they were just sitting on the horn and they just sat there. They didn't care. I mean, then when my kid got in the car, I drove up to 38 and the traffic went all the way up to 38. I was like, I can't believe it. But they're right. Something's got to be done about that. And then, with Collegiate, and I haven't been up by Central. I can only imagine what's going on up there with all the kids, all the high school kids.
There was a plan once for Central, which would have made sense. To have the area in front of the lawn, cut in with some lanes.
Right. They, when I went to school there, there was a lot of kids there. But,
we didn't have a lot of cars, though.
No, we didn't. A lot of kids walked home or the bus.
I joke with kids that the parking lot for students, was on the north side of the building by Sontheimer's Bakery.
Okay.
Where they have a road cut now? That was it.
Really?
Yeah. The back parking lot wasn't as big as it was. The teachers parked there.
Is that where you guys parked your Model Ts? Back in there?
No, we weren't. Students couldn't park back there.
Oh, I see.
That
was just for teachers.
And if you did park there, they had one teacher that was assigned, this is in the days before hood locks, would go in there and take your fan belt off.
Nice.
And send a note that you had to go down to the office to get it.
Nice. Yeah.
So there was a strong message that, because when we ran track,
we used to park.
We didn't go up to the fence.
Yeah,
okay,
that's where we parked at.
We had a big neutral area of just dirt. There was nobody parking there.
Yeah. Did you guys? I heard. I don't know if it was on the news or in the newspaper that you guys got a grant to redo West 8th Street.
Yeah.
Where at on West 8th Street?
I think it's that area out there by. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look. It's that whole corridor that.
Isn't it? I want to say Pittsburgh Avenue, or not Pittsburgh.
I think it's before, but I'll have to
out
check
there
it.
by the Harding.
They've been talking about it for a while. That.
Yeah, I wish that stuff would come to the east side too. Sometimes, it's.
Well, you got to apply for them. That's the problem.
Who applied for it? It's a state grant. Who applied for that?
A lot of times you have groups in the area like the associations.
But the association.
Yeah, they do. Like Best Erie and all them.
Yeah, but they don't have one. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, okay, just Pittsburgh, between Pittsburgh and Grandview on West 8th Street. In terms of the schools, could there be some thought given, do all these schools have their own security guards inside anymore?
No, not all of them. I mean, the high schools do. The
Security guards.
the grade schools, not so much security as, on an ad-need basis maybe, but the high schools they have staff.
They have police, I think, too.
Yeah, they do. They have school police
And regular.
and sometimes regular city off-duty policemen.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if they could come out and help direct traffic a little bit there during those times of school.
They could if they were instructed. I've been to other school districts in other parts of the state, and it seemed like, even when I was on school board, we realized there was a problem. But I guess right now, like John's telling me, it's escalated. I've never seen so many cars in front of schools as I do now.
It's ridiculous.
Like even in the old days when I would pick up my daughter at Wilson Middle School, it really wasn't that bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you park down the side street, you park down on the street, but now you have double parking. The lanes are being held up. It's
Wilson, I wouldn't say is as bad because a lot of the kids,
but I mean, using it as a,
Yeah.
But now you got, it's
yeah.
like, wow,
They don't double park at Wilson from what I've noticed because a lot of kids, I see a lot of them walk from Wilson because that neighborhood, mostly kids walk. That's,
But try to go like Perry School on.
Oh, no. The West Side schools, the East 38th Street schools, and Collegiate Academy, almost, I'd say 75 to 80% of them
I stay away from State Street.
walk. And then the other 20%, or get a ride. The
Even
other
trying to
20
go
get on the bus.
Even trying to go to the grocery store at Tops, it's like a major endeavor at school time.
I try to stay away from there. I mean, John was right earlier about the Joanna Connell.
Yeah.
It was crazy up there. I was like, what is going on here? But
the idea of shattering the pickup time would work probably the best because I think that's what they used to do at Central when I remember picking up our kids.
Yeah, you're probably going to have to deal with the union, number one.
Well, that's,
And it's a good idea because, where my grandkids get picked up and out of town, it's like you're told what time to be there. They don't let out, they got a master campus, so you're told where to go, where to park, what time to be there, and,
Well, I think like up until, last year, you had Central and then you had Roosevelt all in the same building. And they let Roosevelt out at 2:20 and then Central got out at 3.
Right.
I mean, but then again, kids have to get so many hours of school during the day to get the state law requirement. Mm-hmm. So how would you even stagger it if you decided that you wanted to do that?
You'd have that. Well, that's
you'd have to, I don't know. You'd have to maybe cut a period. I don't know.
one of them.
it's getting dangerous.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's going to be a problem because a lot of parents don't want their kids walking anymore. They want to pick them up. So the other alternative would be to use the city, maybe have the city bus take them from the school to another central distribution point, maybe like say Plaza or someplace where they can be picked up there. Then they have more room for cars to.
Like a ride and park like they do for 8th grade Tuesdays and stuff?
Something like that. I mean, that's not. Of course, that's going to increase your bus costs. And
yeah, there's a cost to that they probably don't want to deal with.
This would be a good thing to bring up at a PTA meeting, or so to have the parents come up with their suggestions of what to do, and maybe they may have some better ideas on that too.
Well, in the past, like I was telling John, we had pickup zones cut out on Peach Street for the old Glenwood and all that, but with the parents, I mean, like Grover Cleveland, there's a lot of things you can do there, but a lot of the schools, there's no options.
I mean, Joanna Connell does have a pickup area, but it's so crazy.
Yeah.
You can't, there's too many cars. I mean, they have it. They have, where you drive down and you can pick up and, out you go. But there's so many.
Yeah.
You can't, you'd have to have a pickup area that's stretched 2 miles, unfortunately, these days. But I know it's a problem. Someone's going to get hurt. I mean, it's just a matter of time, unfortunately. So.
Guys, in the news today, I heard something about the parking authority now going to build another garage down here for Hammett. I think it was around second 200 block of Peach Street.
Yeah, I was made aware of that a while back, that they were studying it.
They're still studying it, but it sounds like it's almost going to become something. All depends on how much of it that Hammett will pick up expense-wise, and if it's going to be feasible enough for income from the parking to cover the expenses of operating it, which might not be a bad thing. I mean, that whole area down there is getting higher and higher in terms of activity of people for going to medical condition, for medical care.
Well, I guess they need it mostly for the employees because that new addition they're building down there, when they tear down that high-rise, they're building a new hospital next to, like, the Women's Center. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, they had parking below there.
Well, do you remember, you know where the Perry House is, right?
No.
You know that tall building that was across the street?
Right, yeah, I know where you're talking.
Yeah, they're tearing that down. And then between the hospital and what was the Heart Center and I think it's the Women's Hospital there, they're building another addition. And I guess they're figuring they need more parking just for the employees alone. And not the public. And they still got to worry about the public having parking. So I guess it's one of those win-win situations that while you don't want to see hospitals getting busy, but, when they are busy, they're increasing their employment and their footprint.
Whatever became of the idea that they talked about there at, I think it was 4th and Peach.
Oh, you mean the one behind McDonald's?
Next to McDonald's there. They talked about putting one there. They were supposed to, I guess, build it large enough it was going to overhang McDonald's driveway there for an area. Yeah,
they had to buy McDonald's air rights. But I think at the end of the day, when I talked to the parties involved, the study showed that it wouldn't have made money. The costs would have outstripped the effectiveness of it, and they didn't feel at this time that they needed one there. It was if you remember, the other mayor did it, and he and a couple of businessmen had vested interest in it, but it didn't pan out for, the usage that they would have got, and compared to the costs. And so they right now, I think that's on hold. Kind of abandoned, really.
I mean, a lot of county employees would park in that. I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't put one there.
They did a study, and they said
that's hard to believe. I mean, there's nowhere to park for employees at the court.
Well, I think a lot of the county employees right now park probably at the other ramps, or
they probably park on 7th Street, but still, that's employees usually come through the 4th or the 5th Street entrance usually.
I'll get off so others can call in, but two concerns that I have personally is that, with United Way cutting back on what they did, the two agencies which I've always been helpful with are losing complete funding. That's the Meals on Wheels and, of course, the Site Center of Western Pennsylvania. That money was always well used, and then all of a sudden now it's taken away. That's going to be hurtful for them, and it's not going to help the city in some ways. I know that, not to have those agencies getting funded. So we're trying to work our way up, try to find some way of funding them, but particularly Meals on Wheels. But I know down a friend of mine that's in New Jersey, that's a state office run by the state now, that Meals on Wheels. So
yeah, I mean, that's
a paid position too. You get paid to do that. All right, I'll let somebody else call.
Okay.
I mean, the United Way, they have cut a lot of stuff.
I still don't understand what they did.
What they did is they just streamlined into, I think it's early childhood education and poverty. Well, that's where the money is. That's where people, whenever you fill out grants or different things like that, early childhood education, and I think poverty stuff where, they don't fund Meals on Wheels. They don't fund the Boys and Girls Club anymore. They don't fund a lot of other agencies. I don't know if it's that people aren't donating as much. I know when.
Well, it's no.
I had money taken out of my check every.
But
pay period.
You got to figure that with the businesses that have left town now, that's probably a hole.
I used to sit on the United Way Impact Committee a couple of years ago, where we decided who got grant money and stuff like that. And, we used to give out, good little chunks.
But now you got to look at, G's gone, Hair Mill's gone.
Yeah. That's what it is. There's no donating base anymore. So you have to, it's the same as the community centers. The community centers are now in the neighborhood revitalization business, and they're not in the business of giving youths and juveniles programs to keep them off the streets anymore. They're now in the neighborhood revitalization committee, business, like the MLK.
Yeah.
They're involved with Gannon and Hammett, getting grant money to pass out loans to the neighborhoods, to the people in the neighborhood closest to the hospital. So in order for these centers to survive, they have to change their entire mission. And who gets pushed out the door? It's the people that need the services the most, because in order for these centers to survive, there's money in community revitalization.
When you look at the city, we have a giving plan, so does school district at different places. But when you lose some of these big employers,
the CDB, correct me if I'm wrong, but the CDBG monies get cut every year.
Every year they've been cut.
And it's like, how are you supposed to fund a lot of these programs?
Well, what we do, the council now meets with the administration, and we sit there while it never was open like that before. So now we sit there and we listen to people come in, not claims, but make
proposals.
their proposals or presentations.
Yeah.
And, then you got to go back and you got to say, well, it's wrong to do this, but we base it on what we got the year before.
Yeah.
With the caveat that everybody understands that we don't know what's,
right.
Like last year, we didn't find out till months later, actually, way later.
Let me ask you.
Remember Washington was in disarray?
Yeah.
So by the time the money come, it was less. So now we had to go back and we had to have our, you have like your preferred list. Sorry, John.
Right. Well, let's say if you guys promise money out and you only get a certain, let's say you get 15% less, do you do across the board cuts on people that you give grants to?
It depends.
Okay.
Go ahead, caller.
Morning, Kaz and Mr. Steiner.
Good afternoon.
Hey, you guys know if there's any city ordinances regarding parking a fully loaded tractor trailer with junk vehicles on it on a city street?
Yeah, there is, I think that is against. You're not allowed to have anything permanent like that on a city street.
Yeah?
There is a weight limit.
Yeah, well, how come the police officer, there's one police officer in general that's done a real good job for me, but that's just one.
Yeah.
And they stick out like a sore thumb.
Where are they parked?
I think I sent you a couple emails regarding that, Kaz. Don't you remember?
I get a lot of emails. I've been turning them in, but which one's this one?
Well, it's not there all the time.
Yeah.
It's there every now and then.
Because I got complaints about the ones behind the post office.
Behind the what?
Behind the post office. We got a residential road that's starting to look like a parking lot for semis.
No, not there. It ain't there.
Okay.
Actually, it's on Parade Street. Fully loaded junk vehicles. Sometimes they're just flattened. Other times they're cubed. And sometimes the thing will be there for 2-3 days maybe.
Well, I had a talk with him about Parade Street in general, and I haven't got anything good that I like. I'm going to try the new chief, because the old chief, he had a couple guys go by there and take care of some problems, but Parade Street's getting to be a problem on its own now.
Used to be called, back in the day, I'm very well familiar with this, it used to be called special attention.
Yeah.
Remember that, Kaz?
Yep. Yeah, I remember that term.
The old EPD, you'd call up, you'd say, hey, I'd like a special attention to be put on where I'm going out of town, I'll watch my house, or whatever the case may be. But it was called a special attention. Apparently there is no more special attentions.
There is when they want it to be, but...
Well, absolutely, if they want it to be, yes. But I'm going to be using maybe that number, 870-1111. We're going to see how that works out for...
Where is it on Parade Street exactly? Which one was that?
The 800 block.
Okay.
Across from Krause's, just about. Right next to that old, what's that called? That old bar you used to drink at?
Oh, the Easter Turners.
Easter Turners.
Yeah, you know, even going up Parade Street, I've had complaints now from people that all the car lots and repair shops are parked on the sidewalk.
Oh, yeah. That's it. Nobody does nothing, so why not? Long-term storage for a cheap price.
I think I'm gonna have to get the chief to come to a council meeting, because now we had a gentleman earlier talking about the school zones along with this, and yeah, I got a problem that, do you ever go up to the main post office?
Very, very few, but not too many times.
Well, there's an access road that goes behind,
Okay.
and they turned that into a parking lot for semis now.
But is an Eddie Cecchini own that property?
Well, he's on the street. That's what the problem. They're not, they're parking right on the street.
Oh, okay. Then that's a city problem then.
Yes, it is. And I want to check the zoning when I get done with this meeting. I'm going upstairs and seeing what the area is rezoned. But it's
Who's part,
just truckers in general. They got kicked out of Walmart. This is what I was told.
did they?
They got kicked out of Walmart because they were littering that parking lot. But why is the city turning into a semi-parking zone?
Yeah, right.
Well, it's what did I call it? A truck terminal or
Travel America over there?
Yeah.
it's cheap. Hey, what the heck? You can park your semi there for nothing?
Yeah, right.
I guess Walmart was okay with that for a while, but then it got to be, they were getting littering and,
Well, of course. You go up Water Street, there's a place right there, but you have to call a phone number. It's by permit only, and you got to contact Lawrence Park. Right as you go over East Lake Road, take a right on Water Street, right to the left. There's a place where tractor trailers park, but it's by permit only, and there's a phone number there on a pole, and you probably have to, call them up, and you probably pay a monthly fee or whatever the case may be. But why do that, Kaz, when you can park on a city street and it's free, it's cheap, you don't even get a ticket?
well, the problem's going to be on Parade Street. That might be a mixed business zone. I'll have to check.
No. I'm familiar with the city ordinance. It's not a mixed business. You cannot park a tractor trailer on the city street for more than 2 hours unless you're loading or unloading.
Right.
This vehicle is not loading or unloading.
And I know for sure you can't park in an R1 or R2. That's a residential area. That for sure you can't.
Right, exactly. So anyway, I just want to let you know, any tractor trailer drivers out there, if they want to park their tractor trailers for long city streets, no problem.
Working on Stanley Avenue. That's where.
They did. What are you talking about?
Did they?
A long time ago, we had a trucker that lived there.
Yeah.
He parked there. I was looking at gun turrets. I went to, you know what a gun turret is? We were getting gun barrels and turrets that were being shipped to Connecticut for the Navy.
Oh, yeah.
Although Joe Schimmer did take care of one problem for me on that street.
What's that?
There was a junk vehicle, well, not junk, no plates, no nothing, parked in the same spot. I probably shouldn't have said anything about that vehicle because now that vehicle's moved and now that tractor trailer's moved into the spot.
Yeah.
There was no plates, no tickets. Eventually, he took care of it. What Officer Tellerico took care of it. So I give him.
I heard you talking on Steinhagen.
Yeah.
I don't listen too often that show because I'm usually already somewhere and I don't.
I'm not Negative Ned, by the way. There's a guy called Negative Ned. I'm not him. I got a different name for myself, but I don't want to give it out to you right now. I named everybody. I named myself also. So
There you go.
But anyway, just a little heads up for you.
Okay, no problem. I had the mayor down here 5 minutes ago, actually.
Yeah, he just walked.
Well, he's not wearing the tractor trailer, but he did take care of that vehicle.
Well, at least that's saying something. That's a start.
Good start.
Absolutely.
Have a good one.
Thanks for
too.
calling.
All right.
Yeah, I think that, new mayor, new attitude. Let's get some stuff done.
Well, let's hope that they. The city's turning into a. I'm not against truckers, but you don't belong in.
You shouldn't be parking a semi-truck in residential area.
In this stuff about it's one thing to park it behind a Walmart or something, but out in the open and all that. And
Right.
if you live across the street, you got to listen to that diesel firing up.
That's awful. Go ahead, caller. Go ahead, caller. Hello.
Hi there. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Hey, I've just got a question about some discussion from earlier about the McBride Viaduct. And you guys had talked about potentially, some of the supporters using the cause to advance their political careers. And obviously that's a pretty newsworthy story around the area lately. And I was just curious if you could, kind of maybe expand on that and talk about what leads you to believe that.
Now, you said that, right?
Yeah.
Good.
Well, it's If you take a look at all the people that have come forward and try to take the community lead on the story, it's all people that have ran for mayor, ran for this, are going to run for that, ran for city council, and this opportunity, you don't get too many opportunities. A few years back, I don't know if you remember the tire plant. Do you remember that whole situation? It was very similar to what it was, where people would come out in the community, they'd be on the news, they'd get more publicity. But, did they care? Yeah, they did care. But do they care about seeing their name on the news and getting publicity out of it? I think that plays a role in what people do, unfortunately. So at this time, I question some of the motives, but, I don't know for sure. But I've been around for quite a while, and I kind of know the different players of the game, and that's my personal opinion. So,
what do you think, sir?
Well, I'm not really up on the subject, but I do see that there seem to be a lot of good people involved in that.
Oh, I'm not saying they're not bad people. I'm not saying that. I just think that they see opportunity to get their name in the newspaper and to be on the news, and to see the way elections are won in Erie is based on name recognition and how often your name is out there. Unfortunately, a lot of voters don't pay it. I mean, this is a nationwide thing.
Right, I was going to say that.
Yeah, they don't pay attention to your platform and your positions and your experience. A lot of it is name recognition, gender, and nationality. I think, but if you're not in the public eye, or you don't have a lot of name recognition, it's really hard to win public office.
I mean, John tells me, and I don't read social media.
Yeah.
I refuse to, because
Yeah.
if I can't identify who's saying it,
Yeah.
I don't want to know it. But he tells me, they've made it a political thing on the other side now.
Yeah.
And
it's a gender thing now. It's.
I mean, we met with him, and I explained to him 5 years ago that I would back them. I would turn over the bridge, my vote. But there was no progress. There was no money raised. Yeah. Unfortunately, the city did not take care of the bridge. That's a fact.
Yeah. I'm not saying
now we're faced with a certainty that we can get 95% of the cost of remediating the problem, which was tearing it down. And that's what the state and federal government went along with. I had to think what was best for the whole city. I mean, in a perfect world, we would have kept that bridge. Yeah. If this was Pittsburgh and we had the kind of political might and power, where they have bridge after bridge, it might have happened. But
personally, I'm an East Sider myself. I wish the bridge was there.
Well, I do too. But
I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I wish we could drive.
But the problem is we don't have the long range.
You don't. It's
commitment to take care of it.
But it's. Some people have good intentions. I think they all have good intentions. I think, like the women that are fighting for it, I think they do. I mean, they want something. It's some of the other people that are just trying to get on the news, get their news in the newspaper, get on social media, try to develop a following amongst people. And is that how you want to do things, to get elected to an office? That's up to you, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, and I agree, and I appreciate that. And I'm not here to argue.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know enough about it. I think it's a shame to have it come down, is my personal opinion, but I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on the subject. So,
yeah.
Again, it was just kind of, I was curious to hear, the reasoning behind or the logic or thought process behind, the opinion that some of the people were trying to advance their careers by sticking up for that cause. That was really my big thing. And I guess, I don't know, Kaz, you didn't talk too much about it. Do you feel that way as well?
I just want to know where, I feel like after Father Jerry gave up the battle, I question why they weren't there when Father Jerry was there. Because I stood with Father Jerry, and I stood there in the cold, and I protested. And I wasn't on council then. But
Maybe it's because a lot of the people are kind of younger and weren't kind of involved in the...
yeah, they were all around. I mean, all of a sudden, I think they tried to put, Father Jerry fought that battle hard. And then once a decision was made, in fact, some of the members of that group were on the advisory committee.
I don't think.
And they were there when the decision was being made. And all of a sudden it became, it was out there during the race. I won't deny that, it was a big issue with a lot of them that were running for the last election.
Yeah.
But, I looked at it like, okay, my heart was in keeping the bridge, but the money wasn't there.
I think that a lot of the groups, the Father Jerry group and the business, I don't think they wanted it to be a park or to be a walk thing. They wanted it to be for vehicles, so that, to help revitalize East Avenue. And once all those groups fell to the side.
What didn't come out in all this, sir, was that even if we had opened it up again as a pedestrian bridge only, the bridge was out of compliance with ADA rules. We would have had to change something to make the bridge angle.
Would have had to change the grade or put in an elevator or something.
Right. In fact, there was some discussion about, and it was later clarified because the bridge is actually 2 feet too short by current standards over the railroad, but they would have, grandfathered that.
All right.
But,
yeah, I just wonder,
I'll tell you what I would rather see. What signified the end of McBride was when they built that other bridge. And Erie being Erie, we're not Pittsburgh, we're not Philly. We don't have the political clout to get, So I think, going down the line, people ask me, who's going to fix Franklin Avenue in a few years?
That's the problem.
And
yeah,
I would rather see a bridge. Are you an East Sider?
I am not at the moment, but I lived off of East Lake Road in the city limits for a long time.
Well, there's a no man's land between McBride and Franklin, pretty much.
Oh yeah.
And there's no access north.
Right, you can't get north-south anywhere.
Yeah, I would rather see a bridge built somewhere down the line there.
Well, there's that one road.
There's Downing. That's the
Downing,
only one
yeah.
that goes north-south.
But really, it's tough to get from down. Yeah, okay, go from Downing in.
Yeah.
It's really tough to cross.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, there's nothing over there.
I would personally I wish that the bridge was fixed and we could drive on it. But as far as, I'm not an expert on the bridge subject, but if it's not, it should have been torn down a long time ago.
But it should have been maintained, and it wasn't.
No, 8 years is a long time. You made the decision a long time, and it seemed like the buck was passed down. And it just should have been made one way or another. Personally, I wish it was still there. I miss it. I hate going on the Bayfront Highway to go down to that part of town. Because technically it takes you, if you're going to stick on the Bayfront, it takes you out of your way to go east.
Yeah.
Or to go, east. And so it's but the whole East Avenue corridor was dying before the bridge even, while it was up and running.
Well, a lot of it has to do with you've lost Hammett.
You've lost.
You know what's interesting,
Hammermill,
sir?
all those are gone.
In all this argument, I would have thought if there was a problem with school students that we would have heard from the school district. Either McKinley, Wayne, East High, East Middle School now.
Middle school now, yeah.
None of them really complained to city council about, a problem with pedestrian traffic. And I was waiting to see.
They got their own problems.
Well, yeah, but if there was a problem,
yeah,
you would have thought they would have come to the city and said,
what,
we need that bridge.
The one point that they do have, though, kids that do walk have to walk on that Bayfront or on that sidewalk. I wouldn't want my kid walking on there.
Well, they're raising that.
They better do something.
Well, no, they did.
They have the wall or whatever.
We voted on that. They're going to raise that wall higher.
Good, because
that was the third amendment on the agenda.
Well, what happens is plows go by and they throw snow right over that, and then it ices up and you can't walk it. Let alone kids.
Yeah.
But I'm glad they're doing that. So
It's got to be a nightmare. But back to the school. That's a really good point that you raised and I hadn't thought of, but do you think, I'm sure a lot of it has to do with the whole financial situation in the school district, with just, other priorities, right?
Yeah,
But
right.
But they never come to us and said, if they'd have come, that might have made a difference. If we would have thought about it and said, hey, you know what?
is there any chance that, that was a political thing too? Like, from the school board and the members and the administration?
I would tend to say what you said, though, is that they got their mind on too many other things.
They got so many other.
I talked to one of their members the other day, and I said to him, we really need to get together and talk we don't have right now a liaison system where we're talking with them, because some of the things we do, like if you read the paper, the mayor's talking about maybe changing the alerter program.
Right.
And they have to understand that we have issues with trying to get people to develop here.
And they didn't like that idea, did they?
They were worried it was going to take away money from them.
Right.
But it's not going to hurt the money they got coming in now.
Right.
It would just hurt, what it would do would delay the future tax money in return for development. So I think we have to get together with the school district, because yes, it is a little bit of politics involved, that, they have their area, we have ours, but, how goes the schools is how the city goes, and how goes the city is how the schools are going to go. Yeah. And if we don't start, changing the neighborhood and the culture of the city, we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, the city, the state, the county, and the school board, I think the ball started rolling. You guys are starting to work in unison, but I think sometimes the school board gets left out of a lot of stuff.
And a lot of it, when I was on the school board, they didn't want to reach out either. So I'm
not saying
I laid out the gauntlet to them. I said, look, I'd like to,
Frank Petrunger is a good friend of mine, president of the school board.
Yeah.
And
tell him that, I'm willing to meet.
He was going to come on I invited him out last week, or was it 2 weeks ago?
I did too. I saw him one time.
Yeah, he said he'll come on. I mean, we'll get him on here to ask some of you can answer the questions.
That'd be good for you. Then you can ask some questions, okay, sir? Hello? Oh, he must
Thanks for calling.
But I think it'd be good that the people talk to, the school district.
Yeah. I think that school does, they get left out of it. I think, the county, you guys are, Kathy and Joe are starting to communicate. That's good. I think the county council and the city council, there's improved communications.
Well, I always got along with, there was about two or three of them that I could really go to.
Yeah. I think that.
And now, Carl's a good friend of mine, so,
we've got some good new guys. And
speaking of some that bothered me, you brought up, we got no bids, I think, on the GF property.
Yeah.
Wait till I tell you this one.
We got 1 minute left.
Yep, your last caller.
Go ahead.
Hey, Cass.
Yeah.
You know who this is?
Yeah.
Give me a call when you get off, because I want to ask you about that walkway, because I've been told that doesn't meet ADA requirements.
The walkway?
That Bayfront. There are certain requirements that probably are not in there because PennDOT doesn't always put it in them. For example, I was told there's no emergency offsets for, say, an emergency vehicle to attend, say, somebody's on the sidewalk and they have a heart condition, or it's a handicapped person, they need to have somebody to be able to get there.
When did those standards come into effect, though?
They've been in effect.
Are they grandfathered in?
Yeah, but that bridge was built a while back, though.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's not. I think it was before that bridge was built. That's what puzzles me a little bit about that. But anyway, give me a call. I want to find out. I don't know much. I've not traveled that, so that's why I don't want to form an opinion.
Yeah, you probably have to talk to the engineer, Bill Pettit. I'll give you a call, okay?
Now, give me a call, please. Thank
Okay.
you.
Well, I have my Valentine's Day red on today, and just want to wish everybody happy Valentine's Day. You take the wife out?
I'm going to, but not on Valentine's Day. We always go.
I wouldn't go on a Valentine's Day either. Take her out.
But I was going to tell you, I was so disappointed reading about the GF property.
Yeah.
So the other day, probably because my son lives in the Allentown area, I get a lot of updates from that area. $455 million project rolled out along the Lehigh River.
Yeah.
And they're actually starting it, okay?
Yeah.
And to those people that told me they don't want anything blocking the waterfront,
right,
and all that, $455 million. It's being done now.
Would the LERTA kick in down there as part of the?
It could. Well, right now it doesn't sound well. That was part of the discussion, and the mayor hasn't talked to us yet.
Yeah.
That'll be an issue about. Right now, I think it's excluded under the present rule.
Right.
But I think he's talking about maybe putting it back in.
Yeah. Well, listen, time is up. I appreciate you having me.
We can see you next week.
We'll have to see. I have to see what my schedule looks like.
Me too.
So, you out of here? Taking a vacation, are you?
Oh, not yet, no.
Okay.
But I got a lot of work to do here, so.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me.
Anytime. Don't forget your.
I'm not forgetting my phone this week. Thanks for picking it up last week, by the way.
And with that,
We'll see you guys.
adios.
Talk to you soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching the Taxpayers Hotline Show on Erie Zone Government Access, Channel 9.